Well, hello and welcome. We are live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. You're watching The Week in Review, where we take a look at some of those big stories making headlines. And as always, what has kept South Africans talking? I'm your host, Liesl Wilson. Let's take a look at what we can expect for today. The Senzomiyiwa trial dominated headlines this week as the late Orlando Pirates and Bafana Bafana goalkeeper's friend Tumelo Madlala wrapped up his testimony. Our Grammy nominations were revealed this week. For more, we speak to Zakes Bantwini, Nomcebo Zikode and Vota Kellerman. And World Football's controlling body FIFA has confirmed a stadium beer ban during the World Cup in Qatar. This and more coming up in the hour. Right, so before we get on to the top story of the week, let's start here. Ratings agency S&P Global has kept South Africa's long-term foreign and local currency debt ratings unchanged at BB- and BB respectively. The agency also maintained its positive outlook. S&P shifted South Africa's credit outlook to positive from stable in May this year. They cited favorable terms of trade for the country on the back of the mining boom, as well as a perceived improvement in the country's fiscal direction. While the other major global ratings agency, Moody's, has not yet made its latest call on South Africa. Meanwhile, stage 4 load shedding is expected to remain in place throughout the weekend. Eskom implemented stage 4 earlier yesterday morning after multiple breakdowns amounting to over 17,000 megawatts. And Eskom has warned that changes in the stages of load shedding will be more erratic, saying this is due to the absence of the buffer that's normally provided by the diesel generation capacity between generating unit breakdowns. Meanwhile, the minister in the presidency, Mondli Gungubele, says that cabinet welcomes the arrest of those implicated in corruption at Eskom. Earlier this week, a contractor working at Camden Power Station in Mpumalanga was arrested after being positively linked to an incident of sabotage. Now, he was briefing the media on the outcomes of the cabinet meeting held on Thursday.
We are excited about the arrest. By the way, those are not the first arrest. It could have been a big one. The arrests have been ongoing. Other matters are in the prosecutorial space. And people, South Africans, I'm sure, I doubt if they've got a measure of how fraud and corruption has actually deepened the Eskom problem. I'm sure we must have shared those stories with you of the Way Bridge where the coal truck would come 3 or 4 times and the other 3 times no coal, but transaction, but invoice given to making people creating conditions for service provider to apply services which are not necessary, or even damaging, throwing stone in the coals, and a lot of things, and a pattern with certain people who are being tracked. That's one of the major issues.
All right, so here's some of the highlights coming out of Parliament this week. The work of the legislature has been extended to accommodate a debate on the Phala report, as well as deal with the electoral amendment bill, where the National Assembly was due to rise on the 1st of December. But the report by the independent panel of experts will now only be debated on the 6th of December. This follows the decision by NA Speaker Nosiviwe Mabisa Ngakula to postpone the submission date of report by the panel.
The assessment report on whether President Cyril Ramaphosa has further questions to answer around the 2020 break-in at his Phala farm was due to be handed over to Parliament on the 17th of November. This deadline was pushed to the 30th of November following a request by panel chair, retired Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo. During the meeting of the National Assembly Programming Committee, it was decided that with this, as well as the issue of the electoral amendment bill still on the table, it would be best to change its program. The bill is currently before the National Council of Provinces. Parliament has to finalize this piece of legislation before the 10th of December to meet the Constitutional Court deadline.
We are suggesting, having followed due processes in terms of consultation, that the 6th of December, a hybrid mini plenary sitting of the House must be scheduled to deal with those matters.
This week, the Basic Education Portfolio Committee also went through another round of oral submissions on the Basic Education Law Amendment Bill. Issues around learner admissions and the determination of the school's language policy were raised. The bill is being criticized for allegedly seeking to strip school governing bodies of their powers to decide on admissions and language policies at schools. Abra Barbia, SABC News, Parliament.
On other news, United Airlines' first flight on its new direct non-stop service between Washington and Cape Town has landed in the mother city. The new route is expected to pump millions of rands of direct tourism spend into the Western Cape province.
The plane, carrying over 240 passengers straight from Washington Dulles International, made a landing at the Cape Town International Airport. The first of its kind between the two cities. The direct flight is a 14-hour and 5-minute journey. Previously, it would take up to 30 hours of travel with connecting flights. The flight service is set to take place 3 times a week and is anticipated to offer major economic boost to the province.
Our mission is to land more flights, to bring passengers and investors to our shores, and already America is one of our top key source markets for tourism and trade. And so it's really giving us a massive boost for more tourism and trade opportunities. So as the city government, we're really excited with this new flight, because on the back of this flight will be more export opportunities, more tourism and travel opportunities.
North America has become a very important market for South Africa, again in the context of business travel as well as leisure travel. In fact, today as we speak, the USA is the fastest growing inbound business and leisure travel market for South Africa. So everything we need in terms of creating a vibrant tourism industry here, creating jobs, is made absolutely possible when we work directly with airlines.
The flight is aimed at further strengthening bilateral trade relations.
Look, this flight is huge from a commuting perspective. It no longer needs to go over Europe if you're trying to go to DC or anything like that. So from Cape Town to Washington, DC, and we can connect you on to 80 different cities in North America. So whether you're going to Washington or somewhere like St. Louis or Chicago or even to Toronto, Canada, it's very easy on this new flight from United.
I mean, it's a big boost for relations. It definitely brings together the people-to-people relationships. You know, for the United States, what we get is we get to visit this beautiful country. And frankly, there is more demand than there is supply right now. The more flights you have, the more Americans you're going to have coming here. And for South Africa, you know, really what it's all about is it's jobs, it's creating industry and entrepreneurship, people who are coming here. I mean, Americans come, this is a long way for an American to come. So when they come, they're probably willing to spend a little bit of cash.
The milestone was even more personal to the crew.
For someone who has grown up in South Africa, it's a very big welcome home present to actually be able to have the opportunity to fly and land this plane in Cape Town. Words cannot describe. We gave the passengers a tour of Cape Town before landing. It was impressive and great opportunity.
I was born here in Cape Town. It's lovely to be back. I grew up watching planes take off from the single runway, and it's just absolutely magical. And thanks to amazing Patrick Quayle, we worked on the inaugural in 2019. And to be back here watching these, for me, two worlds collide is just absolutely phenomenal. So grateful, proudly South African.
America says it is planning to have about 12 direct flights between the two countries before the end of next year. The Western Cape government says it aims to lobby national government to liberalize measures for a more open air transport market to increase utilization of airspace and bring more competitive fares. Thule Joga, SABC News, Cape Town International Airport.
Welcome to Cape Town.
All right, so now to the top story of the week. The Senzomiwa trial resumed on Monday, the 14th of November, with a friend of the late Orlando Pirates and Bafana Bafana goalkeeper Dumelo Madlala returning to the stand. Madlala conceded that they had been drinking on the day in question and that he had forgotten some of the events that unfolded that evening.
And told The Senzo Meyiwa trial resumed on Monday, the 14th of November, with a friend of the late Orlando Pirates and Bafana Bafana goalkeeper, Tumelo Madlala, returning to the stand. Madlala conceded that they had been drinking on the day in question and that he had forgotten some of the events that unfolded that evening.
As I sit here, I know that you watched that match, Chelsea and Manchester United, on that day. And somewhere in the transcript it reads, after a while. So the question is, after a while, after you begin watching, or after a while, after watching the match? Because it can be both. It's up to you to put us in the clear about it.
Uyacela ke la Nkosi yami ukuthi ucacisele Nkosi enkantolo ngale nkulumo le eqhamuka lapha ku transcript uma sengincedisa kakhulukazi after a while le nkulumo evela lapho uyangizwisisa ukuthi after a while le uqhaza ukuthi ke ngemva kwesikhathi sengiqalile ukubuka lebhola le Manchester United ne Chelsea noma uma sekuphelile ukudlala kwale bhola le Manchester United ne Chelsea ngesikhathi ngena umuntu ohlasela.
If I think after it came, if I think banging after a while after it came.
Okay. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, my lord, I mean that after the game had ended.
On Wednesday, State Prosecutor Advocate George Baloyi notified Judge Chifua Maumela, who's presiding over the trial, about Madlala's face being shown on TV. The media was then thrown out of court for disobeying the court ruling to not reveal Madlala's face during his time on the witness stand.
We had an incident which involves the media houses, and that caused us to set rules, and those rules apply. And I'm not continuing with this trial with the person who went offending inside. I'm not doing that. That person, whatever the effect and the extent of the footage, that person should leave this courtroom now. If we don't know who it is, all media is going out now.
Advocate Zandile Mshololo questioned Madlala's testimony that Longwe Twala pushed one of the intruders armed with a gun on the night Meyiwa was killed, stating that it is impossible for an unarmed person to attack a gunman.
What was found by the doctor, that the bullet exited, and therefore I am saying to you, if it is true that there was an intruder behind Senzo, then the bullet should have hit that person.
Advocate Mshololo further questioned Madlala about a statement deposed by Mlungisi Edward Hlophe, the brother-in-law of Meyiwa, on the 6th of March 2019.
Zandi was fighting with her boyfriend, and Senzo Meyiwa was trying to separate the two.
That's a lie.
On Friday, Madlala wrapped up his testimony. The state also concluded its re-examination of Madlala, who was amongst the people who were in the house when the goalkeeper was shot. The trial resumes in the Pretoria High Court on Monday.
Right, joining us now is Nthabiseng Dubazana, is the director of Dubazana Attorneys. Nthabiseng, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on the SABC.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perhaps as we look at what unfolded this week, what do you make of Tumelo's testimony, which actually wrapped up on Friday?
Well, it throws a lot of credibility out the window in terms of what happened on the day in question. In the examination in chief, it's quite easy for you to tell a story because no one is really poking holes in what you're saying. It's just you narrating what happened and, the prosecutor clarifying what you've said and all of those things. But now in cross-examination, it's the point whereby your story needs to hold water. Every hole you try to poke in your story, you should be able to withstand that poking, and it didn't so far. The fact that in Advocate Mshololo's cross-examination, she was able to make Tumelo Madlala to concede that he was not in his sound and sober senses on the day of the incident, which now puts into question what he saw, which now puts into question everything he's ever said in examination in chief. And then over and above that, there was questioning about lighting by Ndete Tobani, whether he could see clearly and all of those things. And that also threw some questionable, confirmation of people that the person he identified on the day in question. So in general, there's a lot of holes now in the story which cannot be plugged properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Tumelo having admitted to, having consumed alcohol on the day in question, and that he could not recall some events. Does this, how does this hamper the proceedings going forward? Perhaps just in regards to what unfolded when you concluded on Friday.
So it just means that any witness that's going to come afterwards, they might be used to try and fill up those holes. Like I usually say, it's very unfortunate that this matter is being aired, because in normal circumstances, it would be that the witnesses don't know what the first witness has said. And then when they come, they speak what their version of events is. But in this situation, the witnesses are privy to what Tumelo has said. But it doesn't change the fact that the questioning might just not be helpful to try and plug in the holes that Tumelo has already left. So as it is where we stand right now, in terms of him identifying, for example, accused number 2, I don't see that holding water anymore. And above that aspect, he was not able to point out accused number 2 in a lineup. That is a very crucial thing, which means that what he saw on the day in question may not be what he said he saw.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things that stand out is that Advocate Zandile Mshololo highlighted how Madlala's behavior was shocking after he received, some proceedings from images that he in fact sold to Netflix. How would you weigh in on that behavior?
As we've already been saying, it deals on the credibility as well.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to pay money for exclusive photos and all of the things of the events that happened on that day, it could be that now the story that you're telling now is to try and protect what happened on the day. I mean, it is impossible for you to say you don't remember how much money you received, for example. I don't believe that is the truth. It is impossible for you to not recall time at all in any circumstances of things that happened. Everything that he says is, Anyeko sure, I don't remember. So what are you here for? You're supposed to be here to help the court understand what happened in order for the court to come to an impartial conclusion on what happened, so they can pronounce guilt or innocence on the people that are now facing the trial currently. And then over and above that, Advocate Mshololo tried to bring in the letters that were written by the NPA, wherein they were saying that they are only reserving their decision pending the credible outcome of this current trial. What she was trying to get to there was that you are now testifying here to make sure that you cover yourself so that you don't get prosecuted should this matter end. So it throws another aspect of credibility into the fray.
Yep. Speaking of which, the defense then raised a point that Exhibit C in the case, was basically making witnesses answer in a way that protects themselves. How would you weigh in on that as the trial proceeds? At the end of the day, we're looking for justice.
I agree with you 100%. It has never happened, at least in my experience, that a trial based on the same facts is not, even if the accused are 100, it doesn't matter. It has to be tried. They all have to be tried at the same time. What is currently happening here is now making the witnesses that are going to come to make sure that whatever they say does not implicate them in any manner, which does not bring justice at the end of the day. Because whatever I say before this court, just now, the accused persons before this court are found not guilty, then it means that I might end up being prosecuted for this crime, and therefore I am going to try as much as I can to not put myself in the line of fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when we look at the different, dynamics that unfolded, we also saw the media once again coming to the fore. That obviously being thrown out of court for showing the face of the witnesses. Again, how does this compromise the case, and what are some of the consequences that result from here into?
So the first thing is that media is allowed to appear in court. That's the first. You don't just arbitrarily say that media is not allowed. So that is the first thing. That's why it's always been there. So the issues is that the first incident that happened where Tumelo Madlala was being chased down and all of those things, it led to certain rules or directives, that's what we call them, being put into place for the media to follow, right? And everything has been going smoothly since then. But what happened the other day, that's why I actually agree with how the presiding officer dealt with it, is that if you know who the culprit is, please let that culprit leave so that the rest of you can remain and we can continue with the proceedings. But if we don't know who the culprit is, let all of you get out, go sort yourselves out, and then the ones who are not in the wrong can come back. But that never happened because nobody came back at the end of the day. So what it essentially means, it doesn't put anything per se of the trial in jeopardy. And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't exactly a picture of him on that in that day, on that moment. It was a picture that was, superimposed on the live feed and all of that. So that in itself made it a little bit less of a problem. But yeah, no, it is a very difficult thing to try and balance out the rights to open court and for the media to report, and also the right to privacy and all of that, not only of the witnesses and the accused, but by every person who is within the court. There is case law that states that you shouldn't, for example, be zooming in onto the attorneys and the presiding officers and all of that, but those are the minimal things that are dealt with. So, it was sorted out eventually. So that's how it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just quickly before we wrap, I wanted to bring in to question the decorum within the court, and perhaps also the way, advocates address the judges, and sort of what also unfolded there. The way the interaction came about seemed to raise a lot of questions and concerns. Is this a norm? Walk us through how that ultimately should not be happening, or if it is, what justifies that?
No, that should not have happened. It kind of brought flashbacks of Advocate Melissa Latefo, who was there before, because it was like, okay, maybe that's why he was then the advocate on the case, instructed by Tobani attorneys. But in terms of just court etiquette and rules, if the presiding officer pronounces on something, making a threat, because that's why Judge Momela reacted the way that he reacted. When Dade Tobela kept saying, your lordship, you see, that is a sort of a threat. That's why it ended up being an altercation, so to speak, of words between the presiding officer and Dade Toban. It should be, you should know what procedure is in terms of criminal law. You should know which directions you should take. You should know that if this is being an unnecessarily long discussion between yourself and the presiding officer, put that aside for argument and then, continue on with your line of questioning. But in the manner that he conducts himself, it is not untoward, really. And he is likely to find himself dealing with an issue of contempt of court should he continue in that trajectory.
And Thabi Singh, thank you very much for joining us here on the SABC. And Thabi Singh Dubazana, Director at Dubazana Attorneys, really just weighing in on what transpired as the Senzo Mayiwa case obviously wrapped up on Friday. It is set to continue again on Monday. Really just exploring some of the highlights that came out of the week. We'll leave that conversation there, take a quick ad break. There's more on the other side upon our return. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Right, welcome back. The Week in Review continues. In international news now, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has appointed a special counsel to determine whether former U.S. President Donald Trump should face criminal charges. Now, this follows the alleged mishandling of classified government documents and his role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, the move comes 3 days after Trump announced that he is running for the White House yet again.
Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. It also allows prosecutors and agents to continue their work expeditiously and to make decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk's chaotic tenure as owner of social media company Twitter continues with reports that hundreds of employees have quit their jobs. This is after the South African-born entrepreneur issued a Thursday deadline for employees to commit to working long hours at high intensity or resign. Now, the latest exodus shows a growing intensity from employees to jump ship after Musk's controversial $44 billion takeover that seeks to ruthlessly reshape the company's culture and financial fortunes.
While the exact number of employees to resign is difficult to estimate, Twitter will inform its staff Friday whether they've been laid off following a week of growing uncertainty about the company's future under Elon Musk. Several tweets from staff claiming to be leaving Twitter surfaced on the platform Thursday, including Gillian Carroll saying that yesterday was her last day and that she was leaving with a full heart and immense gratitude. Michael Lim simply saying, "This bird has flown." Or Brianna Nicole M. tweeting a picture of herself saying, "What a ride. Tweeps, you're the absolute best." In his email to staff, Musk, who earlier described himself as the chief twit, said employees needed to be extremely hardcore in building a breakthrough Twitter 2.0 and would be expected to work long hours at high intensity or leave. As the billionaire Tesla and SpaceX CEO admits he's burning the candle at both ends.
Oh man, I have too much work on my plate, that is for sure. I have to say it's with great difficulty. I'm really working at the absolute most amount that I can work from morning till night, 7 days a week. So this is not something I'd recommend, frankly.
As this analysis in early November appears to be ringing increasingly true.
He faces pressure on a multitude of areas. One, revenue pressure. How do you monetize Twitter as a platform? That's really been the treadmill that we've seen over the last decade in terms of as a social media platform. And then it's ultimately cost cutting. I mean, can you cut costs and monetize? That is a very fine balance he's going to have to strike. At the same time, trying to bring advertisers back onto the platform that you're ultimately trying to do freedom of speech. That is almost an impossible task. And these are all what I view as almost the Everest-like uphill battle he has with Twitter.
Twitter also recently paused the rollout of its $8 blue tick subscription after fake accounts impersonating several big-name brands and companies mushroomed on the platform using the verified marker. Sherman Ricepees, SABC News, New York.
Well, staying on the international front, World Football's controlling body FIFA has now confirmed a stadium beer ban during the World Cup in Qatar. The last-minute ban allegedly follows pressure from the Qatari royal family, where the tournament kicks off tomorrow, when the hosts will be taking on Ecuador.
As things stand, World Cup visitors can buy alcohol in hotels, restaurants and in fan zones. Alcohol is usually restricted in the conservative Muslim country of Qatar before the current tension of selling beer inside the stadiums. The royal state had appeared to have agreed to relax alcohol laws during the tournament, but on the eve of the event, there has been a sudden U-turn. This despite FIFA having to compromise on beer sales, which also limited individuals to just 4 drinks. With the sudden changes, it means Budweiser, one of the tournament's biggest sponsors, is set to lose greatly on sales. Although the restrictions on alcohol sales might have left many fans disappointed, the Qatari nation has continued to provide alternative entertainment for the visitors. It has extended the experience to its 2 international airports. Qatar is expecting more than 900 daily flights to both of its international airports during the World Cup. A passenger overflow area was launched, which is planned to provide some World Cup entertainment for passengers prior to their departure from Qatar. Organizers expect more than 1 million visitors to make their way to the country for the tournament.
As you can experience all around you, football fever is really in the air. Qatar Airways is going to welcome over 1.2 million fans to my country to cheer on their nations, and wanted to provide another great space for people to enjoy during their time here just before they leave.
Meanwhile, Real Madrid and France striker Karim Benzema and Barcelona captain Alexia Putellas claimed the Men's and Women's Player of the Year awards at the Globe Soccer Awards in Dubai. Benzema, who will be a key figure for France in the upcoming World Cup, added yet another trophy to his collection following his Ballon d'Or win last month. It was a successful night for Madrid, with Carlo Ancelotti winning Coach of the Year and the club itself picking up the Best Men's Club of the Year. Lebong Tube, SABC News.
Right, we're going to take a quick ad break. We chat to Grammy Award nominees on the other side. Upon our return, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. I think firstly, congratulations on this feat. Vota, you obviously have a Grammy under your belt. Zakes and Nomcebo, this is a nomination for you. How are you feeling at this point? Where were you when you received the news?
I was in Nice, in France. Like, you know, I felt like jumping all over the hotel. I didn't see this coming, honestly. Thank you so much to Volta and to you, Zakes. I'm feeling blessed right now.
Zakes, how would you weigh in on what you're feeling at this point?
Man, I feel so great. I think when I heard the news, I was at the restaurant and I made so much noise. I made so much noise. I think I made other customers uncomfortable. But I scored myself a champagne because they bought me a champagne in celebration. So everybody just jumped in and celebrated the moment. So I think it's a great moment, man. And to my fellow collaborators, this means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's about telling our stories. It's about restoring our agency. And Vota, you know, when we look at how this collaboration came about, how three musical geniuses actually came together to produce this, what was that process like? How was it working with them?
Well, actually, Zakes and I have been talking for at least 5 years to probably do something together, but we just haven't got around to it. And when I knew this is actually a new Grammy category, Best Global Music Performance, and I immediately thought of Nomcebo's voice because I absolutely love her voice, and I thought, how beautiful would it be to get the three of us together? Yeah. So I met Zakes at the SAMAs. Yes. I spoke to him and he says yes, and then we got hold of Nomcebo and she said yes, and we were all forces forward to make this happen. Yeah. And I mean, it's just a dream come true.
You speak about it being, a new category. When you look at who the contenders were, who you were up against, I mean, I believe Justin Bieber, WizKid was in the mix. You guys have managed to come out on top at this point.
Yeah, and Ed Sheeran also had a collaboration with Fireboy. The song Peru is a major hit. And so I knew we were in with a chance, but I didn't expect us to actually make it. So no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I guess when we look at, the magic of this as well, Nomcebo, I want to start with you, and then Vota, Zakes, I'll bring you also into the conversation. I mean, we're just recovering from a post-COVID scenario. The world has undergone changes. We've all had to dig a little bit deeper to find what grounds us as we navigate these changes. And I just wonder, when you, as an artist, want to tell your story, serve as a bridge, heal those, what's the intention this time around for creating the music? What do you think was the essence that captured and brought you all together?
I think the love of the music, because if there's no love, of course, along the line, you'll just quit because there are so many challenges, as you were saying, that we're from COVID. So much has happened. So many artists, they were not working, so there was no money. Yeah. But if you've got a love for something, you'll continue even though there are challenges. I think it's because of love of the music. I don't know. You guys will tell me what you think. That's why we're here today. We keep on pushing, no matter what is happening, but we keep on pushing.
Yeah.
And for you, Vote?
That's very true. I think COVID was devastating for all of us, but we all pushed through because we're passionate about it.
Yes.
And for me personally, it's about spreading good energy into the world. Yes. And that's all my music always has, that backbone And I think I'm in good company here because we all think the same way. And so I'm just so incredibly happy that with this song, we can spread South African music and we can share South African, export South African music to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Zex, how would you weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's so many, obviously, negative about the COVID, but there's also positives about it. You know, the positive is that one, we got to spend time with our loved ones, you know, even though we kind of like felt like it was forced, but we got to spend it with our loved one, and also we got to create, you know, we got to create music. We had time to really sit down and just create content and create music for the people. And when the world opened up, then we're able to really share the music. And we got time to really think about ourselves and to sharpen our musical skills, which is something that maybe when you are busy, you end up not doing, you know. I, especially myself, I got time to really like practice my skills and my piano during COVID, which is something that I never used to do, but I had all the time to do that. And I created so many music during that time. But I mean, I think right at the end of COVID, then Osama was born, you know, and then right after that, then Bayete is born. I mean, this is just proof of saying that during COVID, even though there was a lot of negative that happened, but also there are some positive which is actually that are happening, you know, in our lives.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, we have to also explore the element of cultural diplomacy and also restoring, you know, Africa's agency as a whole, which I alluded to earlier on. And you know, through the promotion of the creative economy, empowering artists, and really just having our stories being told, what do you think is happening the world over right now? How's Africa solidifying its mark?
I think at this particular moment, it's very sporadic. So people are just working in silos, you know. And I think we really need to find a way. And I know it sounds a bit cliche, but we need private sector. We need the government, you know, and we need artists and agencies to really work together. That's when I think we'll be able to really tell the story of Africa, because still African stories are told in either an American face or a European face. You know, you look at the Woman King. You know, the leader being one of the most talented actor, Viola Davis. You know, we have the Two Souls, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
We have other people, which is beautiful. But I would love to see African stories being told by fully African cast. You know, and I think that happens when there's a serious investment happening, and investment meeting talent and meeting agencies which are really trying to take our art forward. At this particular time, we'll just play 30% or 40% to what is happening. And I feel like we need to be 100%, but for us to be able to be 100%, we need serious investment into the arts.
Voter, giving back is something you've never shied away from. You were involved in the discovery of the Ndlovu Youth Choir. You've got a Grammy under your belt. You're a 13-time SAMA nominee, 8-time SAMA winner. It's the 4th Grammy nomination for you. I mean, your CV speaks volumes. But as you give back, as you look at your journey, as you look at where to from here for you, I mean, firstly, what was it like working alongside Zex and Nomcebo? And then also, where to from? What's been a career highlight for you then? It sounds like there's been many along the way this far.
Well, this nomination is especially special for me because it's the first time that I'm doing it with an all South African musicians. And to me, that is absolutely incredible because South Africa's got this incredible talent.
Yes.
And with the depth of culture that you only realize once you start traveling overseas, you realize how special the depth of culture we have here is. And but what we don't do that well is the business side and export the music. So that's kind of my mission, to help exporting South African music. So this is for me a really, really incredible, special moment.
And it's purpose-driven. Nomcebo, for you, for your career, what's been a main goal for you in the work that you do? You know, I mean, you mentioned how things are not always smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So when you look at how you aim to solidify your role and impact those around you, given what, you know, Zex and Vota have echoed, what's
I think
your
for
purpose?
me, more music for me. People must expect more music for me, and I want to be a good leader. I'm hoping that the young ones at home, young girls, there's something that they will learn out of me. I always say in life it's important not to check maybe the background that you're coming from, whether maybe it's if you're from a poor family or whatsoever. What's important is where you're going. So I just want to say to whoever that is watching today, there's nothing that you cannot achieve in life. If you are focused enough, you'll achieve everything. That's why today we are here as the Grammy nominee artist.
Yes, absolutely. So the 5th of February is around the corner. For each of you, what can we expect from you? The festive season's obviously also around the corner.
More music, more music, more music. That's all I can say. And more collaborations. And I'm busy touring around the world. So I can say maybe to people, they can check me on social media so that they can always know my whereabouts and also know when exactly I'm releasing new music. But we are not also going away with the fact that we are nominated. This is a big song ever, so people must just check the video on YouTube. Just check more about us, what is happening. Like, who knows, maybe we're going to win this one.
Zexon, Vota, before I get you, I just wanted to know, Bayete, what does it mean for you? So what do you want people to actually walk away with?
Please tell her, Zex, you're the one who said I must write about Bayete. I think you must actually tell her why you chose Bayete.
Yeah. No, really, it's definitely Bayete. It's really to pay homage or to respect. It's hailed to the king, you know,
giving
the kings of kings, that being God, and I think that's exactly how it was. So when I was briefing him over the phone, it was like, okay, Zex, now you've given me a name, but what do I write about? And I was like, you know, hail to the king, you know, it's Bayete to the king. Whatever that you can say, but I think let's just maybe give praise to the king that we've managed to be where we are today. I mean, there's so many people who lost their lives, but we are here and still able to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that resonates with so many, you know, transcends duality beyond that. So upon the creative process, what zone did you get into? Did you shut everyone out? What was that process like?
I was in a zone. You know, sometimes when you check on social media networks, you see people, they're not in a good space. They've got stress or whatever that they are going through. So I felt like, okay, when Zex is saying to me, write about Bayete, I was like, I'm thankful to God, like we are giving God praises, but also we want to tell God about our problems. Yes. I want to tell God that, God, we are here in this world. Please give us peace, because we don't have peace. We can show all these fancy pictures or fancy clothing, whatever, but we don't have peace. So the song is all about saying, thank you so much for everything, God, but please give us peace. We want peace. We want happiness, because many of us are dying inside. We don't have happiness. So the song is all about that. And my brother over here, I just love the way he plays. What's the name of your
the flute?
The flute and the
flute.
pipe.
Oh my gosh! So because I receive the beats, like the music, and then I put my. It was so easy for me to lay down my voices because of the way they played the music, the way, like the emotions that I just received from the music. Like I just got goosebumps all over me. So it was so easy for me to write the song.
And then Vota, for you, you know, alongside Nomcebo, when she's, you know, expressing her emotions, given, you know, as you mentioned, what's happening in the world today, what was that creative process like for you then?
Well, it was incredible, because you actually didn't have to understand the words to to know what it's about and to feel it. And that's actually the feedback we got from the Grammy voting community as well, because they all, most of them are Americans.
You just get goosebumps all over. Like there's just something about the song.
Yeah, because normally American people that are very much about the words and they want to know the translation, but in this case they were saying, we can feel it.
Aww.
We can feel it. We feel it happening, you know, because sometimes the emotion speaks deeper than words.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what I feel with my flute often, is that I can say something that you can't even say in words. And with your emotive rendition, I think you say something much more deeper than what the words can even express.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also sometimes, you know, there's the space in between the notes, that pause that captures everything. So just as Nomcebo mentioned, you know, what we can expect from her until we get to the 5th of February, what else is on the cards for you? I see Zex, we've lost him. Let's see if we can get him back.
Yeah, well, we actually, you know, we've got a big competition for this because there's Burna Boy, there's Arush Aftab, the Pakistani female artist who was nominated for Best New Artist last year as well, and she did a collaboration with Anushka Shankar. So we're going to push, you know, we're going to do a whole campaign and see if we can bring this back to South Africa. But in the meanwhile, as Mcebo says, you know, we continue to make music, and because we're all passionate about the music.
True.
And you cannot stop.
And for me, you know, I feel like this is a win already.
Yeah.
I've never really thought one day I'll be nominated on such a platform. I know every artist around the world, not only in South Africa, want to be nominated on Grammy. So to be part of this, honestly, really means a lot to me. Thank you so much again, my brother.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Because being nominated means top 5 in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's incredible. That's a win already.
Well, you've won the hearts of South Africans and the continent, because, you know, you've restored our agency and you've told our story, and we tap into the emotions that you so willingly expressed. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being part of the magic. All the best.
Thank you so much.
And keep flying the flag high for South Africa. We're very proud.
Thank you so much. I think what we need now is South Africans to support us. If they are not supporting us as South Africans, who's going to support us? So this is not our win alone, but it's like the three of us, but it's our win as South Africans or as Africans. So at home, please support us. Please be behind us. Yeah, we promise to give you more music also.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and all the best for your future endeavors. Vota Kellerman, Nomcebo, and Zex Bantwini joining us in studio, chatting about the amazing feat. On Tuesday, they were nominated for a Grammy. Of course, the ceremony takes place on the 5th of Feb. Again, they're asking for our support as South Africans. Again, the Grammy ceremony is happening on the 5th of February, and Vota Kellerman already won Grammy under his belt. Nomcebo and Zex Bantwini entering the race with their first nomination, perhaps the first of many from here on too. Again, thank you very much to them for joining us here on the SABC. Bayete is going to be playing out. We're going to leave the conversation there. That's also where we end the show. Of course, we are back tomorrow for a look at the week ahead. For myself and the rest of the team, until then, do stay safe, and it's goodbye for now.